You can use 2 words, traitor. And then he nods casually. You said no wrong. But we didn't know then. I finally wrote a cease and desist letter. Straight to 3 years ago. He's been back for a long time, we'll know. Turns out it was all the old man's arrangement at first. And he's not on a mission. Bring the remedy, the antidote modulation of 7 waste Vastulichuong at the pharmacy about. Because the psychopath is on strict watch. So he used medicine. Engrave the remedy on people. Normally I don't look out. Only when using specific medicinal waters, they can show out. I can't help but feel a little startled in my heart. What to say? The skin in the cave belongs to your brother. It's unbelievable. They risk their lives to this extent. To use the skin of the people who wrote raw Danish antidote. This task is too difficult. It's too risky. But this gives him a feeling. When they get home they get lost. We should also prepare the dead to be brought into the world. Prepare for the future. Later. There are 9 secrets. 6 will definitely be higher than the long dance. But this art is cruel. Not to fight, but to fight yourself. But to deal with the 7 worlds. Must have a cruel heart. It's a little bit. I don't even notice the change. One side of explaining the return of bias. Make the whole dance happy. Even though Sao had the cure. We don't have to worry anymore. So in everyone's expectation. Bias impeaches her, she starts practicing antidotes. But that medicine is so bizarre. It's a drug that we've been working on for a long time. It makes people poison and die. Even to people who practice. They've all been poisoned with the same 7. And so on. The most likely is a sigh of relief, the exclamation said. Your brother was also poisoned and died. God is a genius. Young age. That we're able to participate in the 7 drug preparation. It's a real skill. He died so early. But the city slowly shook its head. In his eyes flashed rays of indignation. No. He was not poisoned and died. He was beaten to death by the owners of the house. What's not he doing? Why? But he quickly understood. In this world, the hardest kind of person to do is an anonymous hero. 8 people look in the mirror. Neither inside nor out. Of course, it tends to be 2 eyes. The billions are suspicious. He was a spy for the king of medicine. Deliberately using antidotes to poison people. So while I and my 2 sisters were in the air, the form wasn't here to beat him to death. Waiting for us to return is too late. This is the bad reputation of a long dance. We can only talk to the outside world. That he died of poisoning. They only dig you. She still believes that the cure is real. So there's still research. As it relates to the condition of the natural tendency. So there's no way. Take the coffin to the grave of the dragon flower. That's why I buried him here. Afraid someone will insult you. So even the name didn't dare engrave it. He also left his parents' graves. Coming to this place is like being reunited with your family. Speaking of which, the department has already shed to tears. I want to comfort her a little. But she dragged him to his knees. Land. Then he looked back at me and said, if one day we die, I hope you can find my bones. Bury me next to them. I'm sure it's a little painful to hear. In the eye condensation. What are you going to do? As if you were talking. I thought he was serious about telling her. Stupid girl, I'm here. You will not say. I'm a little surprised to hear this. Look at his serious face. I can't help but feel a little silly. But very quickly he was hiding something. You really are made of water. Let me call you by name. You dare to call me a fool. Most likely I saw her angry. I don't understand. Scratching my head. Brother Dong said, doing so can make girls feel safe. Maybe you don't like it. Your brother is a woman lover. Later, go back to him less. Okay, next, go to one last place. End words. She took his hand and pulled away out of this place. She was attracted to her again. He's really a little self-conscious. This is the third time. I don't understand. Maybe pulled away by her. But he didn't care to follow her. Very quickly the two of them arrived at a very familiar place. That's the slum where they first met. Most probably. Look at this place. Doubt has arisen in my heart before. Raise your voice to ask, why come to this place? That's right. Why are you the owner of the dance floor? You have to live in such a poor neighborhood. 153 Peace before the storm. I heard him laugh and sigh. There's no other way. That year, because of the bias. When I was angry, I went looking for a serious. As a result, he was injured. He was also poisoned by 7 of the. But I dare not let others know. Fear of affecting the stability of the long term. So I pretended to practice seclusion. It's actually borrowing yin and yang qi to suppress poison. Then there was the female rumor. I'm sure most people hear this and understand. At this time, it tends to be suddenly gave him a black cloak. Most likely, she looked a little surprised. I don't understand. Looking at her. Tend to laugh at another voice. Jade time of. We don't have much anymore. I hope you replace the old one. Let me feel the warmth of my family again. Most likely, he laughed and shook his head. Ra asked me to pretend to be my brother. But he just finished. Tio rushed towards his chest. 2 hands around the back and hugging tight. Probably the most astounded. Silence, can't say a word. A moment later. Slowly speak up, as I said. You're not my brother. He ended in the surprise of the greatest. She took off her veil and revealed her beauty. Hind City. To see her face again. Most probably not out of pity. In fact, she is so beautiful. Look at the confusion in your eyes. The base tends to blush shy. Come to hug him again. Small voice Shinsonging Gok. It used to say I was the best. It's the most Danish. I hope you can let me repeat my teenage life. Most probably right now. I can't really hear what she's saying. Just stupidly nodding. The doctor agreed. The tendency is rarely the bright smile of the sincere maiden. Say thank you. So you're both living in the slums. To live a peaceful life of ordinary people. Men plowing fields, women sewing. 3 days of living like that. To become a... I felt peace like never before. Probably not 1,000 times. The road is the queen. I can live peaceful days like now. But these days, there's not a bit of worry about resentment. It's like stepping into the exoteric world. But you two don't know. Their quiet lives was subordinate of the Hong Fu Than van, standing on the roof nearby. Watch it all. Not long after, the man came back. He landed on the ground at a park. Right now, in the large hall there is the presence of Hong Fu Than van, Li and Death Tian, 5 elders of Yu Min Cup and Strict. Someone just returned, has come to the side of Hong Fu Than van, whispered in his ear. He ended up suddenly angry. Hands on the table screaming, please. Everyone is present. I saw the action of the Lord. Immediately startled with fear. Asked the 2 men what happened. Hong Fu Than van at this time to hands tightly held. The anger on his face has not subsided. 2 eyes of bass scattering close attention. Grinding teeth grinding. Say, that's because the boy took off the veil. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without seeing 3. Everyone watched his body disappear. If you don't understand anything, immediately chase. At the same time in the slums, the 2 best people in the world are safe without any worries. Sitting in the office, tend to rely on the most powerful. Through a restful sleep. Most importantly, quietly watching. Recall your life with her. Just like normal people. Rely on each other to live. Without contact with flesh. But rely on each other like that. There's an extraordinary sense of peace. For the Empress as why. Such a life is unprecedented. Maybe this is the warmth of the family. The beauty of the tendency to be too much temptation. It just seems like I can live with her. Such a life. Everything may not care. Don't worry about spring. No need to hold the world. It can be compared to a beautiful smile. This is SA downfall no matter how willing to continue SA downfall. Think about here. He looked at her quietly sleeping next to him. Without realizing it, he stuck his head close to her face. I want to put a kiss on her lips. But right now, he suddenly opened his eyes. Strongest glue body flying out. When you leave the house, it explodes. See this scene. Most likely angry and screaming. Your house has just been built. Just like that, it was cancelled. The house just collapsed, and there was smoke everywhere. And then there's the base body standing there. Is the Hong Fu Than van? Probably the most prominent of them. Stare at the person who just arrived. In my heart never ceases to murmur. His warm little house hadn't been in a few days. I can't believe it was destroyed like that. Rape people too much. He thinks he doesn't know how to be angry. Perhaps most importantly, I miss the house I just built. Maybe he also regrets the warm feeling of life with a tendency to. So now it's all over you. But he's prepared to move forward. To confront Hong Fu Than van. Has been pushed back by the establishment. They hide behind me. Hear this word. Most likely, he suddenly woke up. If you act now, let the king have a reason. Let's go out with a long dance. His plan will surely be destroyed. So it's impossible to move. After a moment of silence, he did not act. Get behind the back and talk about it. Then this place is for you. Hong Fu Than Van stands opposite. Immediately get the conversation. The anger that didn't go away immediately exploded. He is so angry now that he wants to kill someone. I looked at the two cold-hearted people. Call intimacy so a couple spanking lady. The prince today. It will make you die completely. 150 for fighting. To listen to his words. He stared indifferently and said, Hong Fu Than Van. Your mouth is a little cleaner. Who do you say is a whore? This needs to be said. In the beginning, we swore. You can only cover your face for me. But now, you left this boy. See your true self first. She turned to cold eyes looking at him. Lord, you have broken your promise before. Why did I have to remove my veil because of you? Most likely, one side is becoming less and less understanding. I'll cut you off. Wait a minute. Why am I a little confused? Just drop a veil. You wanted to fight and kill. Even if it's your horse. You can't have no one else to see. Didn't he steal your wife either? The word just ended. Hong Fu Than Van appears close to the mind. The bad boy knows he's fake. The Lord must deal with you first. Already said, he has a way of not fighting the most evil. See this scene. I can't help but feel a little nervous in my eyes. If that was the case, force Inra's body at such a distance. Even if it's hard to win. The winning percentage does not exceed 50%. The strength of your body is a normal person, maybe love. But it hasn't hit down yet. The tendency to one side has pulled him out of danger. He just left that place. Immediately exploded in raw piece of wasteland. Right now, Hong Fu Than Van once again spoke coldly. Tendency, have you seen it? This boy can only hide behind you. At the moment, you need to protect him. What kind of man is worthy of you? I don't listen to him ridicule, and don't care. Arrogantly holding up his head, refusing to give an opinion. Then why, I like it. Even if it is in the dance for a long time, not every type of man has a sow. Hear this word. Most certainly in the heart of resentment. Your body is the best. Face is the most important. This has something to do with honor. I can't get through the speaker. Thought then he spoke again to interrupt this tendency. Although I do not want to oppose you, but I'm not really the kind of guy who clings to dresses. He tends to look at you. This person can't be a little quiet. He glared at one in anger. Low voice of blame. Shut up. No one told you to shut up. The king heard his words and suddenly laughed. Provocatively said, That's great. If you are truly considered a man. So don't fucking hide behind a woman. Come out here and fight the prince. In the blink of an eye, the ambient temperature immediately drops. Surrounding air dissipate close attention. Most likely, the eyes of the world look at Hong Fu Than Van, confidently say you and me. There will be a battle, But unfortunately, it's not today. If you want to die, then it's not too late to wait 2 days. Words just came out. The other two were immediately amazed. I can't believe looking at you. Your liver is so big. Dare to speak such heroic words. Must know that Hong Fu Than Van, it's the power of the celestial phantom. Even in the sky, there are few enemies. And he's just a third-class boy. I just broke through the second-floor scene. But looking at his atmosphere is not like pretending. Like until then, you can really do this. The king is not too surprised. He is angry at him 1,000 times. I don't think about one day a boy will predict death. That's good. This is the biggest mistake in the world. It's the funniest thing in the world. This boy ran out of the mountain. That's why I don't know the power of the emperor. Just now, he also unleashed his energy and bravery. And yet he dared to be so extravagant. He laughed coldly, he said. You don't have to wait a few days. For today the prince will take your life. Withdraw words. He once again turned to the most evil. See this scene. The tendency is not to be surprised. Hurry up in front of him. In the hand appeared a white pearl light lips chuang. Hitu. The two heads of the celestial master collided. It immediately makes an explosion. The two of you walk back a few feet. Hong Fu Than Van raised his head. Look at the city. On the one hand, I don't believe in the truth. You dare for him. That uses Hai and Nu Yet's resolution of the long dance to stop me. End words. He looked at her with cold eyes. If that's the case, don't blame me unintentionally. Scream out loud for an hour. In his hands appeared a sign. Very quickly around appeared the image of Kim Long. Then the dragon roared through the sky. Most likely, one side saw this. Not out of fear. He is a fitness guru. I don't blame his heart. Strong again and beyond the power of imitation. That's normal. Then Ra is borrowed from the dragon's pulse. To practice metamorphosis. Where it will concentrate the flowers of the earth. Can be by ground flowers. It will be like a strong mountain. Take the essence of the ground of practice. It's just like his polished diamond. Equally effective. His body is one level higher. But he's one step behind him. The fight will still suffer. The tendency too. He wants to kill the people of the city. In a panic cry out of fear. Martial arts legendary level of the Emperor extreme martial arts determined. The king looked at her actions. Smile kindly. Ridicule say inclination. I advise you not to cover him anymore. Related to his life. In the blink of an eye. The city couldn't stand it. It's like crumbling a piece of white silk. Gagging out a sip of fresh blood. You can take a few steps back. However, the government did not slow down the speed. Still aggressive rush too. Probably the most unconsciously trembling in my heart. Unhappy doctors want to summon Dragnet. There's no other way. Standing in front of death. Even if it's exposed, it doesn't matter. Then he definitely prepared the position. You just need to come here. He immediately passionately accepted 155 gathered so. While thousands of pounds hang the strongest hair in the world. Ready to reveal his identity to fight. Suddenly in the air. And then there's the sound in a row. Not 09 awake paralysis not awake. Kim label lightning. Han and Goktrong. Application form only. In the direction of sound emitted. For body image of the sword custom long 9. Tai bar and flower form also gradually appeared. Let's work together against this one. Of Hong Fu Than Van. See this scene. Hong Fu Than Van and the most popular. At the same time amazing. But very quickly, Hong Fu Than Van has regained the spirit. Calm down. Sound a sound Gao master the sky so scout. It's rocking the whole sky. But after the smoke died out, Hong Fu Than Van's body is still straight back. Standing there a little chipped also no. Take a look at the people who have just arrived. Long 9 and his sword looked at the person in front of him, not without a little fear. The for great tricks of for people. It didn't hurt him at all. You to look at each other. In my heart constantly calculating. The Emperor of Heaven's armies. The worst of the 7. Right now. The people of the 5 elders. Yu Min Cup and Forest Death Heaven of Fun Lamb. Also appeared at the same time, around Hong Fu Than Van. He looked at the people opposite him with a smile. You are so brave to fight with 2 men. If you still want to fight. The old men agreed to the end. In the blink of an eye, the air fell into the ocean of swords. No one gives up AI. A poor man is hard to deal with. Now there is a king of medicine. And 5 elders of Yu Min Cup. It got harder and harder. Most likely, the eye looks at the serious. Assess once you start a war. The king of medicine is a great threat. Long 9 they will definitely be controlled by him. If you want to fight, we must destroy this person first. However, this goes against his original plan. But if we have to go to war, it's best to take the time to deal with them first. But right now, both Long 9 and Sword Custom also constantly ponder. Now, once they move, I will tear off the mask with the 4 kings. The 7 kingdoms war could break out at any time. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse for the family. But now that the bow is on the line, it's impossible not to shoot. I thought you two were emitting gas at the same time. Ready to move. No more than this time. Hong Fu Than Van, after a moment of reflection, suddenly speaking up. Wait, you really think about it? You want to choose him. The dog is currently injured. 2 long-time owners. He points his name. She hesitated. Look at the most beautiful in the back. For a long time, I said no wrong. I've never been so sure before. Hear this word. Than Van government gritted its teeth in anger. Yes, I am not against you anymore. I wish you 100 years of harmony. Let's go. He finished his words and turned away. Still do not forget. Towards the surest side of the world, mocking the boy. You have never had a man before. The most uncertain words have risen in the air. Not afraid to confront him. Who said there was no man for a long time? You have forgotten the reason why. Even though his behavior is stupid. But can't help but say, he did what a man should do. Probably most people say no wrong. Because HOA danced for a long time to work internally 15. He was eventually killed by the Chinese. It's not just cerebral palsy, it's stupid. And yet, his loyalty. It's admirable. No matter what the government wants to hear, it would be a shame if he was considered a man. Being a woman is better. Then he lifted his feet and left. I seriously listened to him talk about it. I can't help but say a few words. He used to be a disciple of the old man. Say a sentence. His skillful knitting is very good. But it's extravagant in the eyes of no AI. I want to rely on my own strength to practice medicine. Long-term peace rescue. People like that, compared to the normal Kier class, that's the real fool. This world is a man's world. It's also the world of smart people, fools and women of illusory dreams. Even death is worth it. Already said, he also lifted his feet arrogantly with the people who left. Leave the most angry people standing there. I am willing to hear what he says. My body trembled a few times, angry to the naive. Long Nine heard this. I'm just as angry as this guy. He couldn't help but glance at the city. You see, she's not okay, the surgeon sighed. Looking forward to the best, brother. You're talking about 3 Confederates. I know why. Most likely, my eyes are cold right now. Towards the people who just left. The police officer interrupted Long Nine. No more talking. That's your business. What I want to do? I want the crazy guy. I know what a real man is. 156 leave. In a different way. Homefuth and Van again. Back to the dance studio. I can't hold it for a long time. Ask 2 men. Why didn't you take this opportunity to kill them? Homefuth and Van heard a loud scolding. It's easy to kill them, but then why? This will lead to the last 7 wars. Even if we win, absolutely, there is only one way to die. And everyone was amazed to hear that. Ask 2 people. Why did you say that? Homefuth and Van could not help but laugh for an hour. In his eyes flashed a bright light that casually said, don't forget, in this dance, not only under the 7 houses, there are 4 pillars, and the word is not over. Who understood the intentions of the Homefuth and Van? Not out of fear. The king has such a big heart. Again deliberately hitting that position. Everyone seemed to understand what he meant. He continued to speak up. Now the flower long dissociated clearly. What about the dragon and the sword? No need to force them to break water. This time I think the guy understands. They're all thorns. You have to clean up sooner or later. He just finished. Everyone bowed their heads in unison. To Mr. Min. But just this moment of bowing. Everyone here has a thought in their heart. In addition to medicine, the power has completely surrendered. The 5 elders of Yu Min Cup, of course, delighted. One lost opponent. Another one of Yu Min Cup is the potential Long. Was in the sights of the emperor. Even if you don't drink them. The potential for collapse. It's also a matter of sooner or later. The 5 elders in their hearts kept laughing coldly. Long Nine, a Long Nine, you finally have today. Early morning the next day. Probably after waking up. I went straight to the living room and watched. The sun is up. Take a breath. In my heart I can't escape. Even if there was no yesterday. There is only 1 day left for the opening of the festival. Should also act. At last the days of peaceful plantation in that slum must also end. Let it be quiet. It's in such a beautiful memory. At this moment a tender image appeared before his eyes. He looked at the man who came and shouted happily. But he hasn't finished yet. The city was in a hurry to arrive. Pull why hands quickly fly. Go, follow me. About half an hour later, two people showed up in the slums again. But this time it's not just two. In addition, there are two brothers and sisters. I'm sure they are a little suspicious. It's like understanding what he's thinking. The facility tends to laugh out loud. I met him and my family. It's reasonable to say that I should obey the road command. But the roads are far away. I can only see your friends first. Let's start by leading everyone inside. Perhaps the most obvious is the following. Not out of mind. If there is no such thing as chaos, maybe they're still in that little house now. To live a life outside the comfort zone. But through that idyllic scene, unfortunately, Don saw this scene without a doubt. I don't know why. Two people tend to show up together. Early in the morning she received her master's orders. Bring the Dong Ra brothers here. The result is the owner. There is no loss in my heart. Dong Thien Ba turned his eyes to him, endlessly trembling with fear. I met this woman early in the morning. I thought I was waiting for them to settle the bill. They hurt them with fear. I didn't expect to see it again. His brother, and the master of Ho Long dance, hold hands so close. He was a little surprised. His worldview just fell apart. A young master of a third-class family ended up doing that. She seduces the subordinates of the Seven Kingdoms. He is also the owner of a long dance, the first American in the world. He looked back at his sister. Come into her ear, she muttered. I told you I should act soon. Look, I don't have a chance. I can hear you laughing. I don't know. Big brother Ca came here with the master. Dance for a long time. The mood is not comfortable. Follow in the footsteps of two people. Go inside in a low mood. At the same time, Don is no exception. It's not easy to like someone. But the enemy is the owner. You may not dare to compete with them. For a moment, three people looked at each other. On the face at the same time, there's a certain reluctance. Laughing together. At the same time entering the room, the city is prepared. In the middle of the room there is a large dining table. Full sorghum taste. The leader sits down in the front seat. Speak up and sit down. No need to stress. Three people looked at each other. Rigid body sitting down at the table, even though it's been allowed by the department. But they are not in a hurry. The opposite is the worst. Even though she doesn't understand what she wants to do. Stay calm and sit down. Gently holding chopsticks for dinner. Have a nice chat with everyone. I can't help but admire this scene. This brother of his last life. How Germany was built. It can catch the blue eye of a long time. The owner tends to be. Wear something else. The woman next to me doesn't stop thinking. They want to be the most sure. From the hands of the people. It's not possible. Their beauty cannot compare to her. The power is even less. Your position is higher than theirs, not just one. It's basically this battle for men. They can't compare. Just like that.